Hey, what's up? This is Aventador here. There's one bag which is more iconic than any other in this space, and it's one of the most iconic techwear items generally. It is, of course, the Acronym 3A-1, spawning not only multiple variations and iterations of this design, a whole range of bags which fit this similar kind of design ethos, modifications, and, of course, numerous imitators from brands and individual modders alike. And after nearly 2 decades, the popularity of this design has endured, with new versions even being released today. But what is it about this design that has been so popular, so desirable, and made so many other brands want to imitate it? I've been a fan of this kind of fashion for years, of course, so I had to pick one up and find out for myself. So we have here the Acronym 3A-1 2021 version in an olive matte X-Pack. We're going to take a deep dive on this bag and find out exactly what has made this the gold standard of technical messenger bags. This is clearly a very feature-rich and utilitarian product. That's obvious from a single glance at this thing. And that only gets clearer when you spend some time actually using this thing. Carrying capacity and storage options are, of course, a big one. You've got the 2 front pockets here, a kind of mid-size one and a slightly bigger one here that sits more towards the back. You've got mezzanine pockets which sit behind those, and there's a big main pocket too with dual entry options. And within that, there are 2 additional zipped pockets. That means for a relatively small messenger bag, you've got a lot of storage options, and they're all placed in a fairly logical way too. The front pocket here, being a little bit smaller, is great for easy access items because it sits a little bit further forward on the bag and closer to your right arm. The back pocket, conversely, suits slightly bulkier items that you want to keep out of the way a little bit more. Behind each of these pockets, you've got the mezzanines, which are super handy for things that you need constant access to. You just want to be able to slide in and out without having to secure it in any way. The main pocket, of course, kind of speaks for itself. It's just a nice big space that you can fill up as you wish. Within that, the zipped pockets, I think, are pretty useful as well and worth talking about because, of course, yes, they provide a very secure space. Locked behind 2 zips, effectively, no one is getting in there, but because of their floating design, it means that they're still quite easy to flip out and access when you need to. The main zip compartment uses a 2-way zip, so you can keep this closed in whatever way is more comfortable to you. I tend to close this towards the front because then I find it easier to quickly access with my right hand, but some people like to do this the opposite way. And thanks to the huge size 10 YKK zip they used here, it's much easier to locate and open by feel than a regular one would be. That's also the case for these front pockets here, which use this unique closure. It's known as a Spanish buckle and designed originally for military use, for things like mag pouches where you need that quick one-handed access. And of course, exactly the same thing applies here. They provide an easy access mechanism that looks cool. It's a bit of an organizational contrast to the zip. It allows that one-handed opening, but it still keeps the contents relatively secure. So what you'll find is there's a little bit of a tier list with all of these different organizational spaces. You've got the super easy to access mezzanine pockets, and then a little bit more, you've got the Spanish buckles, then the main zip, then the internal compartments. So it creates a lot of different spaces where you can put all your different things in a logical and a natural way rather than an arbitrary one. Add in the little gate on the internal pocket and the bag exterior designed for headphones or power banks, chargers, that kind of thing, and you'll find a huge amount of features on this thing which are quite immediately apparent, and all of them work extremely well. There's nothing half-baked or weird experimental stuff that doesn't work the whole time. Everything here has very clearly been refined and just works super well and very naturally. A lot of these features are easy to see, and they're the kind of thing that you'll find on the spec sheet for this bag. But what's not so quantifiable is the way that the bag's shape and overall layout contributes to that overall ease of use. First of all, you'll see that when the bag is empty or it doesn't have much in it, as it does here, it actually folds up super flat like this, which means that it can sit very, very close to the body, close to your center of gravity, thus making it more comfortable and less noticeable to wear. But of course, when filled up, this gusset here at the bottom will expand quite significantly, meaning that the total capacity is more than it would perhaps look when the bag's empty. And it can do that without really deforming in any way, because this gusset is able to open by quite a significant amount. The split here between the smaller and the larger pocket also provides a natural point for the bag to kind of fold like this when it's actually being worn, which enables it to wrap around the body a lot more easily than a conventional messenger bag would. Again, that's an anatomical design. It keeps the bag very close to you. It makes it feel a lot less bulky and restrictive. The shape here contributes to that too. It just rises up a little bit higher here, which helps it sit naturally on the hip, and having this strap come out a little bit higher here, again, helps pull it around the body. Unlike a standard messenger bag design, that does mean that this is designed specifically for putting on your right-hand side. Acronym have made left-handed versions of this bag with, of course, everything swapped around, but these are few and far between, and they don't come up very often. All this, and we didn't even talk about the strap. Put simply, Acronym's QL, QR, or Quick Lock, Quick Release strap is the best bag strap that I've ever used. And the one that I would put second on the Aoku Tiger Shard camo bag is certainly inspired by this exact design. And it's actually very simple. All you do is pull the end of the toggle to tighten the strap, and then there's this material tab here, which is normally locked in place, but you can pull this and it will very quickly unlock and release the strap and loosen it again. And to be honest, this kind of redefines how you use a messenger bag, because it is just so quick to adjust compared to a conventional system. Whenever you take this bag off, in a moment's notice, you can totally loosen the strap, making it really, really easy to get over your shoulder. And then conversely, when you put it on again, you can have it on nice and loose and then just tighten it up immediately. And you can even do that just when you're flipping the bag round to the front to reach for something. You can just drop it down quickly, making it easier to access. It really does work incredibly well, and it just makes that experience of using a bag like this quicker and sleeker and just better. The part of the strap that goes over your shoulder is double the width. This provides a nice bit of contrast, but it also spreads the weight over your shoulder a little bit better to stop it digging in. This is unpadded, although to be honest, I haven't found this an issue because this is designed for carrying relatively light loads, and I've certainly not found myself weighed down to the point that this isn't providing adequate protection for my shoulder. The opposite end of the strap, on this little section here, there is a D-ring which is designed to attach keys to, so yes, there's another organizational element on this for you. You've probably got the sense now that this is really packed with well thought out features and functionality that just make it great to use from an everyday perspective without needing to involve any unnecessary gimmicks or anything that's overly complicated to use. I also think that this happens to be a great looking bag, particularly looking at this from a technical fashion perspective. It's hard to argue that it doesn't check all the boxes in that department. But what's interesting about the look of this bag is that I think it's the perfect intersection of form and function. And what I mean by that is, yes, there are loads of elements on this bag which contribute positively to its aesthetic, from the design of the Spanish buckles, to the complex pocket arrangement, to this oversized zip here, to the shape of it with this little slope here, to the relatively complex, technical looking strap. But every single one of those things has a reason for being there, and it is designed to do something and also contributes positively to the usability of this bag. There's not a single thing on here which was just chucked on because it looks cool. It doesn't even have any external branding. There's this really nice detail with the colouring here, with the edging of this being a very slightly lighter green colour, which I really think does well to highlight the shape of the bag and these extra pockets here on the front, and just provide that little bit of added contrast. And you've got one or two black elements on here as well, namely the edge of the strap here, which provides just that tiny little pop of something interesting to kind of shake things up a little bit from it being totally olive. And you've got the mesh on the back as well, which is designed for that little bit of ventilation, stop you getting too sweaty. That being black too, I think makes a positive contribution. This bag's design has been pretty consistent over the last nearly 2 decades, but one thing that has changed that does make a relatively big difference is the actual material that's used here. Early versions used Cordura or ballistic nylon, which is a relatively standard bag material. You'll find this used all over the place. You then have lamina or limonta, which was used in a couple of different versions, which has a much more leathery appearance and is known for aging or wearing relatively quickly. So often those very, very beaten up looking Acronym 3A-1s are the ones that used this Limonta fabric. And you then have X-Pack versions like this one, although even X-Pack comes in multiple different forms. A few years back they were using a laminated version of this, which came in this silver foil variety, unfortunately known for peeling off relatively quickly, so giving some very worn effects very quickly. They also had a black laminate, which was pretty cool as well, giving this kind of shiny appearance. And then here on the most recent version, there's this matte finish X-Pack. X-Pack is a great material for bags. It's lightweight, but very, very strong and waterproof as well. And you've got this visible diamond detailing here, which is the ripstop, which is designed to enhance the bag's durability. But if you have a look on the inside of this bag, there's quite a different pattern. This is a high gloss finish with the contrast ripstop finish here. Which, yeah, is pretty cool looking. It's nice to have that contrast between the inner and the outer of the bag. But a great thing about this is Acronym actually made these bags not only in olive and black, so you have a few different options there, but they also did a reversed version. So this material that you'll see here actually appeared on the outside and vice versa, which of course gives it a far bolder and much more futuristic look, as well as that extremely reflective high gloss finish, which is bound to capture attention. I have to be honest, when I initially saw the reversed versions, I wasn't a massive fan, but after seeing a few pictures of them in the wild, and it was particularly, there was a great picture from Mike Sunday of the reversed black version, I thought, actually, you know, that kind of converted me a little bit, and I definitely think that that style looks pretty cool and is a worthy alternative to the matte version. Saying that, I definitely don't regret my decision. I think the olive here looks absolutely great, especially with those contrast finishes, and just having that slightly more low-key finish to it is definitely up my street, but olive, still a relatively unusual colour. And I think works nice with all black stuff. It gives that nice little bit of contrast, but there's some fun stuff you could definitely do with this, playing around with more olives and earth tones and stuff in your outfits too. This bag here is pretty new. It came out in March 2021. The first iteration of this was in fact part of Acronym's first product, the Kit 1, and this was sold alongside the Type 2371 jacket, which later became the J1, and a couple of other bits. You've got a comic book style manual, you've got a few other accessories, and you have a CD which contained the Brain software, which is the same stuff that shipped with the recent RMT-01 laptop. The third arm, as it was originally called, paved the way for a whole load of different Acronym accessories. You'll find bags with a similar kind of ethos and aesthetic popping up in loads of different sizes, from the pretty small 3A-2, which is kind of a similar size to one part of the 3A-1 here, and going right the way up to more cavernous messenger bags like the 3A-6TS. They're really covering all bases as far as carrying capacity is concerned. On top of this, they've got a whole range of different modular accessories that connect via the brand's Texas webbing, which you'll find on not only bags, but a couple of jacket and pant options as well. These are designed to augment the functionality of other products, and you'll find that's the case right the way from teeny tiny little pockets to bigger pouches that attach through multiple of the Texas rails, right the way over to a solar-powered charging bank. So even within Acronym, this one bag has really been the starting point for so much, and definitely deserves its place in the Techwear canon for that reason alone. And that's before we start including all of the other brands and bags which have adopted various design elements in their own stuff. Is this bag perfect though? I've certainly given it a lot of praise over the course of this video. One of the big things that you'll have to contend with, like it or not, is the price of these. These are incredibly expensive. This version was 1,200 euros. And yes, if you're looking second-hand or looking for some of those older versions, you will find much cheaper than this, but even a pretty beat-up one is easily going to run you 500. It's also worth keeping in mind the total carrying capacity for this. It is a small messenger bag at the end of the day, and that anatomical fit is a big benefit. You can't really, for example, carry a 13-inch laptop in this. It might physically fit, but it will kind of deform the shape of it, and it doesn't really provide very much protection for it either. Instead, you've got things like the 3A-5, which in fact even come with a laptop sleeve, as if to tell you, if you're carrying bigger amounts of things, take that one instead. And I would definitely agree. This is more for its organizational ability and carrying your day-to-day essentials in a very easy way rather than fitting as much stuff as possible in. The 3A-1 as well, by design, doesn't have any webbing or anything like that, so there's not too many modular options associated with this. You've got this pocket layout and that's what you've got. But the 3A-3TS is really the alternative to that. If the idea of creating something modular and having your own pocket layout really appeals to you, then you should probably go in that direction instead. And those come in cheaper as well because they don't have these pockets on the front here, but you could of course add them if you wanted to. But really this is designed to provide the complete experience. It does everything that you want basically, and it's probably a better starting point than the 3TS. If you don't have loads of mods and accessories and things like that, the 3TS is basically just one big pocket, so it's not going to be quite as useful as this thing is, that's for sure. And as I mentioned earlier, this is a right-sided bag, so it's not necessarily going to appeal to everyone for that reason. I know some people prefer wearing theirs on the left. I don't really mind personally. I am a lefty, but I don't really have an issue wearing this on the right. As we included at the start of this video, the iconic nature of the 3A has spawned many imitators, as well as a bunch of brands which have taken various aspects of the 3A-1 and built it or worked it into their own designs. So yes, you can get other bags which incorporate these kinds of features, which are successful to varying degrees. I already mentioned the Aoku messenger bag, which uses a very similar quick adjustment strap system to the one that you'll find on the 3A-1. Orbit Gear famously uses a relatively similar looking strap design to this one, and that's a brand that's now become part of the Techwear starter pack kind of aesthetic. And you've got brands like Pupil Travel as well, who, well, they basically just ripped off this design entirely. And of course there are many other brands who have created very similar bags to this in an aim to position themselves as techwear clothing brands. I've even seen on some Facebook groups individual DIYers and modders basically remaking these bags themselves. Even look at Bagjack as well. Since they manufacture the 3A-1 and all the other bags for Acronym, they of course use similar materials, similar construction processes, and you'll still find very high quality products from them, but at a lower price than the Acronym stuff. That's certainly a viable alternative, but not only is the 3A-1 the bag that combines all of those things into one package, it's the original one to do so, and I think it does it the best. And that was my look at the Acronym 3A-1. It's a bag that I've really been keen on getting a hold of for quite some time now. As I say, it's so iconic, it really does have its place in this style. I was super keen to be able to check that out for myself, so that's definitely going to be a key part of the rotation from now on, that's for sure. But what do you think of these bags? If you've got any experience with the Acronym 3A bags, then definitely share those down there in the comments, because it would be great to hear what some of you guys think. Maybe people who have had these for longer than me. As I say, I picked this up in March, so it's only been a couple of months for me. And if you've been thinking about buying one, or maybe you've bought one of the many alternative products that are out there on the market, from Orbit to Aoku to all kinds of other brands, then yeah, it would be great to hear from you guys as well. But that's it for this video, so thank you so much for watching. It is much appreciated, and if you enjoyed it, do give it a like, because that is even more appreciated. And that's everything from me, so again, thanks for watching, and I will see you next week with another video. Shout out to Benjamin Parsons. I think that's definitely a good point about the sustainability video. Ultimately, I want to do my best to cover a whole range of different topics and maybe introduce some new stuff, so I fully expect some of those things are going to be more popular, some are not going to be so popular, but you know what? That's fine. And shout out to Rabbi Dazzle asking about revisiting the other budget or affordable labels that I've talked about in the past to kind of see how they've grown or developed. I think that's a great idea, and would definitely be keen on looking at some of those smaller brands as well, because all of these guys over the years have of course come out with new products and more interesting stuff. So yeah, I always want to do my best to cover the new things. So yeah, thank you for that suggestion. And thanks for making it all the way to the end of the video. If you want to catch some more, there's going to be links going up at the top. And if you haven't subscribed yet, then definitely consider doing so, because we've got more cool product reviews like this Acronym bag here. I'm going broke over here for the sake of making cool fashion videos, and we've got some more roundups and other kinds of cool things as well. I'll probably do some more affordable side of things as well, because yeah, we're certainly not buying €1,200 bags every single week. But yeah, thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you next time.